Have you ever done something really dumb with money? I mean, we all have a few dumb things. Yeah, hands right up. Something really, really dumb. I have several that I could think of. One was from when I was in college. I was a big car audio fan. I probably spent way too much of the money I made in high school putting subwoofers in the back of my truck and then in my car. I loved it. And so consequently, when I was in school, I went to a private Christian university, which means I needed every penny I could get my hands on to go back to school each successive semester. So in the summer, when I was in college, I would usually work 2 or 3 different jobs just to get enough money together so I can go back to school. One of these summers, I was near the end of the summer, and I was driving to work, and I saw this big banner and a tent on out to the parking lot beside the car audio store in Springfield, Missouri. And they were having a blowout clearance sale. And I thought, oh man, these are my people. This is my time. They're having a huge sale. I need to go and see. And so I went in there, and maybe you've been to sales like this. There was stuff all out on these tables under this big banner tent thing. And it was all like the neon cardboard, like Starburst cut out with markers on them. Huge markdowns, great deals. And I thought to myself, you know what I need to do? This was the early days, by the way, it's going to date myself, the early days of eBay, back when eBay was for individuals who sold stuff instead of like businesses. Okay. And I thought, I'm going to buy a bunch of this clearance stuff and I'm going to sell it on eBay and turn a huge profit. So I bought, because I had cash, I bought tons of stuff. I spent, okay, no joke, I spent most of my fall semester college savings that I worked all summer for buying all of the car audio because I was going to take it home and flip it for a big profit. So I loaded it all in my car. After work, I got home. I excitedly fired up the computer to get on eBay to see how much of a deal I was going to make. And you know that moment in a dream where you realize you're about to die and your heart like stops and you're like, oh, I'm going to die. And then you wake up instead of dying. Okay. It was like that, except I didn't wake up. Okay. Because I looked at the prices and what I realized was many of these items were going for less on eBay than the sale price that I bought. I don't even know how that's possible. This is brand new. Okay. I kind of overestimated the margin. And so I thought, okay, well, that's all right because this is America. So I threw it all back in the car. And the next day I drove back out and I said, hey man, I need a refund. And the guy at the register points to this sign that says all sales are final. If you've ever done something really dumb with money, you know the pain of, oh no, I have made a poor decision with the money and now I have to live with it. And I was broke, so I only became broker. I didn't become a broker. That would have helped me through college. I became more broke. Anybody ever feel like the guy on the video here? Like, I can't even pump gas without feeling stress. I can't check the mail without a little bit of anxiety because how much is the Ameren bill going to be this month? I don't even want to look at it. Okay, you need to psych yourself up before you check the mail. It stinks. I hate feeling strapped financially. I hate feeling constrained. I hate the loss of freedom when there's stuff that I want to do and I can't. And that's what we're going to talk about in this series. You know, I know that sometimes church talks about money can make people stressed because a lot of church talks about money eventually boil down to give us your money. Okay, that's not this series at all. Should you give to the Lord? Yes, absolutely. But we're going to take time focusing on how to be financially healthy because God doesn't delight in us feeling anxiety and stress over money. He doesn't want us to be stuck. And there's so much more in the Bible about money than give God the first cut. we would be foolish to ignore God's wisdom when it comes to how to save and how to spend and how to budget and how to see money. So we're going to do that. And before we get any further into the series, I want to take a minute to give a shout out to Pastor Craig Groeschel and Life Church. If you ever use the YouVersion Bible app, they're the ones that produce that and make that available free for everybody worldwide. This series is based on a series that Pastor Craig did a couple of years ago, and Life Church was kind enough to allow us to use their cool graphics for our series. So thank you to them. And if you don't have the Bible app, check it out. Okay. Here's reality. All right. If you feel financially stressed, if you feel constrained, if you feel strapped, I don't want to say you're in good company. That's not really a positive thing. You're not alone. Just say it that way. Because a lot of Americans struggle with feeling strapped financially. A recent survey found that the average household debt in America is now 136% of the average household income. Okay, so think about that for a minute. If somebody else came and paid all of your living expenses for a year, and all you did was pay back debt for a year, you still wouldn't be out of debt. It's a little depressing. That's not even looking at the national debt. That's just personally, okay? That's the average in America. Though not everybody carries a balance on their credit card, but for those who do, what, I made a real knot with that one, didn't I? They'll get it figured out. Not everybody carries a balance, but for those who do carry a balance on their credit card, the average balance is $14,500. And the average interest on that is 22%, which means the average American is paying 22% interest on their extra large soda, 22% interest on those cool Nikes, 22% interest on your DoorDash. Okay? DoorDash is expensive enough without paying the interest on it. The average American at 21 years old, it's just getting worse the more that I talk about it. The average American at 21 years old owes $12,000 in debt. By the time they're 28, they owe $78,000 in debt. That's the way that we live. And you don't always see this because a lot of us have figured out if I just put everything on credit and keep pushing the pain back, I can still keep living how I live even if I don't have the money. But when it comes to actual money in the bank, 55% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And by that, I mean, if there's a bill that's due, I can't pay that bill yet. I need to wait for my next check before I can buy this. I need to wait for my next check before I can get this because there's not any money in the bank. 55% of Americans are playing, if you still write paper checks, are playing paper check roulette. Let's see if this one clears. I don't know. We'll find out. Is there money in the bank? And it's stressful. I've been there. Okay. Some of you guys know right where that is. Some of you guys know what it's like living paycheck to paycheck with the reality that if you get a flat tire and you miss one day, 1 week of work, you're going to miss your car payment. You're going to miss your rent payment. You might not have a place to live or a place to drive from even the smallest thing, and it's incredibly stressful. And so we have a lot of people that are walking around financially strapped. Now, how many of you guys would say, I would rather not live financially strapped? I would rather not. If I had a preference, I would rather not live with constant stress on your life. The good news is God doesn't want you to be that way. We're going to help you to get out. We're going to help you to dig out this whole series, and we're going to start today helping you to get there. Let me just tell you, okay, that's all right. One more, and that's probably enough. I don't want to trip and do a face plant on. If you're listening to the podcast this week, you really should just watch the video, okay? Try it. That's good, guys. Thank you. Yeah, all right. Let's give these guys a hand for their, yeah. Okay, next time we need to move something, you're in charge, okay? If you feel like this, we have hope. God doesn't want you to be stuck this way. But if you want to get out, before we give any practical advice on what to do, we have to work with a root problem first. And the root problem is this. You will always be, if you want to write this down in your notes, you will always be tempted to love money. Not just to like money, you will always be tempted to love money. When I was in junior high, I had a friend named Nick. And Nick had this girl that he was real sweet on named Allison, right? And Nick was trying to explain to us how deep his feelings were at 13 years old, how deep and abiding his feelings were for Allison. And I remember him telling us, guys, I don't like Allison. I love Allison. We never let him live that down, okay? Right? Narrator voice. Nick did not end up marrying Allison, okay? He's got a great life, not with Allison. But in the moment, he's like, no. I don't just like this girl. I love her. She's everything to me right now. And some of you guys know what that's like when you're 13 and they're everything to you. Money is okay to like. Money is okay to use. Money is not wrong to have. But if you love money, it puts you in some awkward positions. Okay? The Bible says this, 1 Timothy 6:10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Let me just ask, any of you ever heard somebody say, money is the root of all evil? That is a horrible misquote. Okay? That is not what the Bible says. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And here's why. Because some people craving money have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. God says some people, because they love money so much and because they're straining so hard to get money, they bring hardship on themselves. Satan is not doing this to them. Right? The rich people are not doing it. Okay, they're bringing it on themselves. They're buying a whole carload full of car audio because they want to get rich. And they pierce themselves with many sorrows. I've been there too. And the problem is not using money. The problem is not having money. The problem is loving money. The problem is money becoming the source of hope, money becoming the main aim, money becoming the thing that my life is oriented around because I really want to get just a little bit more. Let me give you an example, an illustration of how this works that I think will help. Okay? Have any of you guys ever, maybe students that were in biology or anatomy and physiology class, have any of you guys ever learned how the fullness system in your body works? How your body determines if you're still hungry, if you're full? There are a couple of sensors. Okay, so when you eat lunch today, and you put food physically in your stomach stretches, and there are, to put it simply, there are stretch sensors. And when your stomach stretches a certain amount, it sends a signal back to your brain that says there's enough content in this stomach, you can stop now. And when the stomach acids inside of here start digesting nutrients, there are nutrient sensors. And they're saying there's enough calorie content in what's in here, you can stop eating now. And so when your brain gets enough signal from the stretch sensor and the nutrient sensor, then your brain, it flips the switch and it sends different hormones to your body to say, that's enough, you can stop. I'm no longer hungry. The Ozempic and these GLP-1 medications, that's how they work, is basically they heighten that signal that says you can stop eating now, you're full. But imagine if I gave you if I secretly cooked up an opposite Ozempic and I gave it to you, and instead of heightening the I'm full now sensor, what if it completely broke one of those sensors in your stomach? And so no matter how much you eat, your body never sends the signal that says, oh, that's enough, I can stop now. It would be miserable. Okay? If the sensor that tells you you're full is broken, then it really doesn't matter how much is in the cupboard because you can eat everything in there and you won't feel full. If you have no food, you're hungry. If you have tons of food, you're hungry. If you can't fit any more down the pipe and you're vomiting back up, you're somehow still hungry. It would be miserable. And when you fall in love with money, it does a similar thing to money. Listen to what God says in Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Verse 10. I want to just really, don't gloss over this, okay? Read this. This is God's wisdom to people, knowing that this would be a struggle for us. This is a warning. God says, whoever loves money never has enough. And whoever loves wealth is, what's this word right here? Say it louder. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied. I feel like I sang this from the stage one time before. Never enough. Never, never. Okay? It feels like that. Greatest Showman. It feels like that. Okay? And so when money becomes the main thing, when money becomes, this is what's going to fix all of my problems, then somehow, no matter how much you get, God says it will never feel enough if money becomes the main idea. Whoever loves wealth will never have enough. They will never be satisfied with their income. And when I say stuff like that, the first place your mind goes is, I'm just going to name drop here. You're like, oh, well, yeah, Jeff Bezos and Amazon, right? Those greedy people never have enough. How many yachts do you need, man? Okay, SpaceX and Tesla and all of this stuff for Elon Musk. How many, villas in France do you need? Of course, when you're rich, it's never enough. Regular people like us, I'm fine. Are you? Are you fine? Here's what I've noticed. Loving money is not a rich person disease. It's a human thing. Okay? Let me give you something to write down in your notes. Think about this. You don't need to have money to believe it'll fix your problems. In fact, in my experience, some of the people who love money the most are the people who don't have any. Because they've been told, because they've seen it, because we live in America and we celebrate the pull yourself up by the bootstraps, start your own company and become independently wealthy culture. And everybody who's got everything and who's happy online always has lots of money. If you ever watch that video, they're like, here's how to use your morning properly. This guy gets up at like 4 a.m. and he's swimming in the pool, and then he puts these really fancy clothes on, and then he cooks this like organic everything breakfast on beautiful cookware. It's like, okay, I can be successful like him if I have money like him, and I live in downtown Chicago in the loft that's $1 million. You don't need to have money to believe it'll fix your problems. You just need to believe that it'll fix your problems. And if your hope is there, then you won't have enough. And well, Chris, I don't love money. I would just have more peace if I could just have more of it in the bank. I don't love money. I just need more of it so that my dad feels like I'm a success and not a failure. So that my son feels I'm more of a success and not a failure. So that my wife doesn't regret marrying me and secretly think, why didn't I marry the other guy who's now a CEO of whatever? I just need a little bit more so I can feel like I'm enough. I just need a little bit more so that I can sleep well at night. I just need a little bit more so that I could be happy and my kids could have the childhood that I want to give them. I just need more so that I could have what I want. When I spent all of my college money on car audio, do you know why I did that? If I dig down to the root cause, okay, it's not because I didn't have enough money to go to school. That's the crazy thing. I had just enough to go to school. I didn't need to do that. Why did I do it? Because I loved money and I want more. I could just go back to school, or I could just go back to school with some really cool new clothes. I could just go back to school, or I could just go back to school with a private room. I could just go back to school, or I could go to school and I could be the one that pays for everybody's movie tickets because I got it. I'm good for it. I wanted more. And by stretching for more, I ended up bringing hardship on myself. Okay. You want to know it? Okay. This is honesty, confession. Do you know how I got out of that and got to go back to school? Okay. I was still young enough. I told the guys, I said, guys, my mom is going to kill me because I borrowed her credit card to buy this stuff. Please have mercy. I lied. Okay. It's one problem to get out of another. And they're like, oh, well, we don't want him to physically die, I guess. Whatever. Thank you. It's hardship, it's stress. I didn't need to have that. Okay? And for a lot of people, the problem, write this down. Most of the time, the problem is not what you lack, it's what you love. Most of the time, the problem with money is not that you physically don't have enough to exist, it's that you don't have enough to exist at the level that your friends are. It's that I don't want my kids to feel like poor kids and all of their friends are getting brand new this. So I need to give that to them so that they have enough, so that I feel like I'm enough. The truth is, most couples don't have an income problem, they have a spending problem because they don't agree on how to spend it. And I know that's easy for me to say as the guy, well, you're not struggling with money. Yeah, right now, I've been up to my eyeballs in credit card debt multiple times. All right. The second time, you know exactly what you're getting into. And you're like, well, okay, here we go. Okay. I know the pain. I know the stress. I know the constant anxiety of that hanging over your head. It stinks. And here's what I've found, that I think you'll find this too. If you write this down, if you love money, you will serve money, because money will start bossing you around. The things that you owe will start bossing you around, and you won't be able to do what you want to do. You'll do what you have to do because you painted yourself into a corner, and that's all you can do. You know how many times I've heard this, and you've probably heard this too. Yeah, I know we should get married. I really want to get married. But do you know what will happen to our taxes the moment that we get married? I can't afford to do that. Okay? Now, can I say that's a legal problem that should be different? Maybe we can have somebody campaign to say we shouldn't penalize people for getting married. But there's a financial reality to it. You know how many times I've heard, yeah, when I was younger, I thought I wanted kids, but have you seen the price of having a child? Do I really want to raise a child in this economy? Maybe I don't. I wish I could, but I can't. I wish I didn't have to work this job that's grinding me to the nub. I'm so exhausted every time I come home. But if I don't work this job, I can't keep paying the bills, and I can't quit. I'm stuck. I hate this job, but I have to do it because nothing else will pay enough. I wish I could spend more time with the family, but I can't. I wish I could donate to charity, but I can't. I wish I could give to the church and help them do stuff, but I can't. I want you to think about that statement. I can't? This is America. We're grown adults. This is the land of liberty. I can't. I can't. Because when you love money, you end up serving money, and money is a cruel master. The Bible says this, Proverbs 22:11. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. The borrower is slave to the lender. The borrower doesn't get to choose anymore, because now they owe everything that they have to the creditors, and they can't do what they want to do. They can't do what's logical to do. They do what they must do, because they've traded their freedom for stuff that in the long run you look back and you say, I didn't even need that. Okay? I was the young adult who said, Mom and Dad worked really hard to own a house, but the bank said I can own a house today. I want to own a house today. So they're like, I went, okay, brand new house. I was married 1 year. I was 1.5 years into my first ever full-time job. Brand new house. Okay. Let's get a new car because my friends have a nice car and we want to have children someday. And I can't put children inside of an old car. We need a new car. And I wanted the stuff, but eventually, instead of me having the stuff had me. And I couldn't do what I needed to do because I had already committed myself to everything. It's a cruel master if you love money. And before we get any practical wisdom from the Lord, we need to change our mindset about money. So how do you get out? Here's how you start digging out. Okay? I'm going to write this down in your notes. You need to make money serve you as you serve God. It's the goal of this series, is to reorient and say, instead of me serving money and doing what money says I have to do, I'm going to start taking control back, and I'm going to make money, which is a thing, serve me as I serve God, as I orient my life around Him. Listen to what Jesus said about God and money. Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. I want to highlight a couple of words in here. Jesus says this, no one can serve two masters. Look at this word right here. Say this one out loud. Either. however you say it. Okay? I grew up all across the Midwest, so I have some oddities every once in a while. Okay? Either you will hate, oh, we lost the H there. You will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. But, okay, and listen to this. This is really important for today. Jesus says you cannot serve both God and money. You can't do both. Now, that's good news if you find yourself like this, and I love money, which means I ended up serving money, and now money is being really harsh to me because money is cracking that whip. That's good news. Because Jesus said, this is like a scale, and the more you lean toward one, the more you'll lean away from the other. Said, how living in America with commercials, okay, just tangent, even with a paid video streaming service, we're still watching commercials? Why am I paying for this? What are the commercials for? Anybody remember the golden age when you could just watch paid online TV without commercials every 5 minutes? Okay, but every commercial is like, buy stuff, buy stuff, buy stuff. You'll be happier. Buy stuff. You'll be healthier. Buy stuff. How am I supposed to not love money? I'm swimming in it. I have to lean towards God. Jesus says you can't serve both. You're going to either hate one and despise the other. You're going to serve one devoted and you're going to push away the other. You can't have both. So the more you lean towards one, the more you'll naturally pull away from the other. And if you feel stuck, the quickest way to start changing is to start leaning back toward the Lord and saying, God, I need you more than I need stuff. I want stuff. And stuff is good and money is not bad. And I know you want me to have some. But I'm tired of living this way. And I need your help. Okay? If you've ever been stuck when you were a kid, I can't get this open. You ever take the jar to dad and say, could you please open this? I can't do it. Some of you feel stuck. You can't just dig out by pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, but God will help you. But you got to lean away from loving stuff. No advice from the Bible will help you if you love money and your life is oriented around being happy if you get enough money. But there are some things that I can do to help. And I want to give you, before we leave here today, I want to give you two things. One of them is a very spiritual thing, and one of them is a very practical thing. Okay? These are things to think about. Let me give you the spiritual one first. Write this down. You need to immerse yourself in God's values. You want to stop loving money? You want to stop serving money? You want to stop the grind and the rat race? You need to immerse yourself in God's values, because here's what happens. When I immerse myself in God's values, and I spend time reading what He said, and I spend time thinking about it and praying about it, I spend time in church. When I look at the world God's way, then I see that I'm valuable because Christ loved me. I'm valuable because God made me. I'm valuable because He adopted me. I'm not valuable because I produce enough income. And I don't have to have a certain standard of living so I can say, I'm enough as a man. I don't have to have that. If I get it, great. But that's not what defines me anymore. When I spend time with God, when I spend time getting immersed in what He says, then I recognize that stuff is not all that there is, that stuff is a means to an end. That God has given me things, but He expects me to be wise with them. And I need to wisely plan for how I spend this. When I spend time doing things God's way, all of a sudden I feel fulfilled and I feel joy by living a healthy life. I feel joy by helping other people out. I feel joy by spending time with my family, by serving them. Those things start to fill my cup. And when they fill my cup and I'm not operating at a joy deficit, then I don't feel the urge to go and try to buy some. Jesus said, My bread is to do the will of the one who sent me. He said, guys, I'm okay. I feel fulfilled because I'm doing what I was put on the earth to do. Do you want to get unstuck? You got to immerse yourself. It's not just believing in God. You got to really lean in. And here's the practical side. Last thing to write down today is you need to make a plan for your money. We're going to give you some tips that God gave on how you can do that wisely. Some of you guys are experts and you're like, it's about time somebody said this. All right. Some of you guys are like, I don't do organization. You're talking to the wrong person. You need to make a plan for your money. So let me tell you this. If you don't have a plan for your money, MasterCard will, Apple will, DoorDash will. They are experts at helping you to spend all of your money. And if you don't have a plan for it, you will look and it'll be gone. And you say, where did it go? The wise person plans and recognizes that money is not ultimately what's going to bring happiness. Because I think a lot of us, the struggle we have is not, I don't have enough to be okay. I don't have enough to live. It's that I don't have enough to be happy and fulfilled. And if money is the thing that's going to fix your problems, I have bad news for you. It will never be enough. Because you'll get to where you're trying to go, and by the time you're there, you'll still have something that you really need in order to be happy, and it's still further away. Look, I've been there. You go shopping for houses, and the house that has everything that you really want is somehow magically just one tier above what you can afford. The car that has all the features that you really want is just 1 year newer than what you can afford. The vacation that you really want to take the kids on is now just out of your reach. And by the time you go there, the next thing will be just out of your reach. It's never enough. We have to keep money in the right perspective. Money is good. Money is useful. Money is a powerful tool in the hands of wise people. But money is stuff, and it does not love you back. Money does not care if you have peace when you go to sleep at night or not. Money does not care if you're working so much overtime that you feel like you don't even know your kids anymore because you hardly ever see them. Money doesn't care. It just demands more. And we need an orientation shift where we see money as stuff, where we see money as a tool, as something to use, but I'm using it in service of God, and I'm pursuing fulfillment with Him. And I'm going to, with His help, over a season of time as I focus on this, I'm going to start to believe that I can be successful without needing a certain income level. I can be successful without needing to drive a certain level of car. I can be successful without eating a certain diet of food. I can have enough. And I know it sounds crazy, but I really mean it. I've been on both sides of this thing. It is amazing what happens when God starts helping you to feel full, even if you don't have a lot. And I want that for you. I don't want you to live strapped. God doesn't want that either. So lean in for this series. We'll get all the detailed stuff in the future, but for today, just take a look at that inside and say, Lord, is that me? And if it is, help me. Because I want to see it your way. Hey there, just wanted to take a minute to say thanks for watching. If a friend sent you this link, it's because they believe what we talked about today is going to make a positive impact in your life. And if it did, there's probably somebody that you care about who could benefit from it. So take a minute to share this video with somebody. Post it to your timeline or send them a direct link. And if you're able, take a minute to give using the link at the bottom of the description on this video. One last thing. Maybe you feel a tug at your soul and you're ready to take the next step in your spiritual life and form a relationship with God. We've got folks here who would love to talk with you about it. So just text prayer to the number on your screen and we'll follow up with you. It's also in the description on this video in case that helps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.